Well, my subject is, maybe you've seen it already, parenting and psychiatric rehabilitation, and it's a new approach. Maybe you've seen it already, that new psychiatric rehabilitation journal has a lot of articles. This is special about parenting and mental illness, and one of this article that I've talked about in a short time is in it. So if you want to know more, you can read it, and it will be online very soon. It's nice to have somebody from Maudsley, because Douglas Bennett is one of the funders of psychiatric rehabilitation. And it's a big name in the Netherlands still. And also we do things from the Boston rehabilitation. The content where I'm talking about is background about supported parenting, a program we developed, and that's based on this, and that's parenting with success and satisfaction. These are concepts from rehabilitation point of view. Then I did a pilot research on this program, and I'll tell you about the results and some discussion and recommendations. So there are a lot of different figures going around. I was also 20% of parents that 20% of people with female illness have children, but from the United States, from Joy Nicholson, it's about 2/3, and in the Netherlands we found half of the people with mental illness, severe mental illness, have children. For me, it's always easy to say in the Netherlands half of them have children, and I don't know how it's in your country, but a lot of people don't know. A lot of professional workers don't know if their clients, if their consumers have children. So that's still happening, still a lot to do on this issue. Well, that's epidemiological point. That's 0.9% of the Dutch population between 18 and 65 have severe mental illness and children. And we use this figure for towns and provinces just to know about what type of population we talk about. Well, a lot of people know it already. There's a high barrier for social services. Even they don't talk about the problem with TP because they are afraid of losing their children. And also what we found out, and that was curious, that mental health workers don't know how to talk with people about the parenting. They are focused on mental health problems, depression, psychotic things, whatever, but parenting is hard. And it's also for the consumers, it's hard to talk about. It's the same issue as before, but also for the mental health workers themselves. So a training was needed for that. So talking about these people, it's not only figures, it's people. And I'll give you 3 examples what we had from interviews from our research. Carla is a single mother with borderline problems. She has been admitted to a psychiatric clinic during half a year, and now she is regaining the parenting of her 2 children from their grandmother. So the grandmother had done it in the meantime. Jan is a man with a long-term depression. He wants to give content to the visit to his daughter. Karen is mother of 3 children who occasionally is psychotic and who brings during those periods her children to their friends' parents. So we interviewed about 100 people, but these are just cases from that. One thing we use in our program is the concept of the balance. And what we find in our initial research, that there are people who are concentrating on their own life with a higher vulnerability, and they are very busy with that. And they kind of neglect their children. This is one side of the balance. The other side, you find parents who are actually parenting all day. You see that especially with single mothers, with a young child at home, and they are cuddling their child all day, and they are concentrating on that. They actually don't have an own life. And of course, in the program, you needs some balance, and it's different for everybody, but still you have to find this balance. So we developed this program. I'll give you a handout for it. And again, I said success and satisfaction is our concept of, will you pass please? Of psychiatric rehabilitation. And I developed it with somebody from a mental health organization. Well, she did most of the work actually, and I kind of was on the background of it. But she did a lot of it with experience in, well, she's a mother herself, and also she worked for 10 years in psychiatric rehabilitation. It's a book for about 100 pages, and there are all kind of lists for several themes and subjects in it, and then the mental health worker can use it, but also the parent, her or himself. So it's actually on the bottom point of view by Farkas and Anthony, and they use the choose, get, keep model. And if you think about parenting, then it's more about keeping the parental role. Once a parent, all life a parent. So, but also the other things are some bit in it to choose and get, but the accent is on keeping the parental role. So it's used by the parent and the professional, and partly it's also self-help. So people fill in the list, and that can be done at home, and then they come to the mental health worker, and then they discuss about it, the topic that's on the list. Program duration is about 1 year, but it can be shorter or longer, and people who are working mental health work know how it goes. Client disappears for 3 months, or have other priorities, and you can talk about the parental role, but you have to talk about the death of the father, of the parent, or whatever. So it's going, a lot of times it's going just now and then that you pay attention to this one. So this has 3 parts, and the first one is assessing the actual functioning, and that's also on the basis of what consumers want, what they need, and what they give on. So, well, there are maybe 12 topics, but I give only 3 of them. So one list is who am I, and another list is who is my child, and it can be filled in for every child separately. So you can get a view of who those children are. Then division and balance between personal time and time for a child, that's the balance where I was talking about. And then support and self-confidence and expectations. Then you have 2 different groups. One group is for parents living together with the children. They form kind of a family at home, and well, it can be a single parent family, but still living with the child. And well, people might have lost something of their parental role and might have weak spots in it. And then you say, okay, we're working on strengthening the parental role. And that's also with teams and lists. So it's the social demands on the parent, requirements of the parental role, resources. These are all concepts of psychiatric rehabilitation also. And tune expectations to the social environment is also a very important part of this. The other part is that the parent is not living with the child, so it's living apart from the children. Might be in the sheltered housing, or that they have maybe divorced and the child living with the ex-parent. And then this group has maybe lost the whole parental role, and maybe sometimes once a year have social contact with the child, and that's it. So you see this group, and it was already talked about it before this morning. this group has a need to really be a parent, not only have social contact, but also whatever you do with parenting. Well, then you go to the needs of this parent and possible activities you can do with the child. And also you think about who has demands and what kind of demands. I was working with a father, and his ex-wife was living well 100 kilometers away from him, and he saw his child came over once 14 days, and then he took the list of questions about this topic, and he interviewed his wife. So they had a good conversation, and they came to how they want to deal with it. Yeah. So well, this father learned a lot from talking about this subject with his wife. So there are a lot of these examples how this is filled in, and at the end, who's supporting? Well, for example, this father. I did it for a while, and then we had also his informal network who was supporting him. So we did a pilot research on this program. Well, to be honest, we wanted to do a big research, but it was very hard to get people into the program, and then they stayed in the program for a year. So even there were 100 social workers who were trained, and we thought, well, we can have a group and we can have 50 people. Now, it was very hard to get them, so we had only 12 parents who were in the program. So but that's why we now did the pilot research, not the real research. Maybe we're going to do it, maybe we're going to do it international. I also worked on this project with Joanne Nicholson, and she's co-author for the article. Maybe we can do it together. But it would be nice also in other places to have this. So we have 12 parents in the experimental group and 15 parents in the control group. Yep. The research question was, what are the effects of the program in terms of parental functioning, success, satisfaction, and empowerment and quality of life? So these are the outcome measures. And then we used several instruments, validated instruments for researchers under you. And this is about parenting, and the real essential concept for parenting, I believe. So it's affection, play, empathy, routines, control, boundaries, pressures, acceptance, and learning. The last one we added to this list because we think it was important, so balance and also organizing activities. For empowerment, we used the empowerment scale by Aki, and then quality of life. That's an overall measure for all kinds of interventions, and we use the Eurocall-VAS. Okay, we have some results. Success in parenting stays on average the same in both groups, so that's by mental health workers and negative kin. But the satisfaction augmented in the experimental group. But it was not really significant. There's a tendency that it's better, but not a significant result. And empowerment, that's funny. It's in the experimental group, it falls back. We thought they were working on empowerment and getting better, but even it's getting worse. We have an explanation for it, but you can read it in the article. Then the quality of life, and that's the only significant result, it improved. So we're very satisfied that we had a significant improvement with it. And on a subjective level, they were satisfied, the parents and also the mental health workers. They could work with it very good. So it's possible, useful tool in supporting parents. It's a guided self-help intervention, and it could fill an important gap in available psychiatric rehabilitation resources for parents. You want to Picture of the slide.
But you,
Oh,
it's for you.
okay, I'll wait for you. Slide's going away.
I
but
thought you
I'll
might
not
like
say
it.
So, well, maybe it's in other countries that you have a coordinator. We have some mental health institutions, they have a coordinator on parenting. So I think that's important. And also, it has to be explicitly in the personal file. They don't register children a lot of times, so and they don't know. So it's better that they do that. And well, from this program we also organized peer support. So a small group of parents, like 4 parents, can sit together and use an adapted program also. And what I said, international cooperation and research to build the evidence. Well, it might be very good for the future. Okay, that's what I want to say to you. Thank you.
Question.
Yeah.
You talked about having personal information about the children in the adults file.
Yeah,
Is that
well,
a recommendation?
not in the personal adults file, but maybe not very personal information, but just a registration that there are children.
Yeah.
So everybody from a team knows. Well, of course, your institution is your team is obvious that you.
Yeah, but actually, what we've done is introduce a good few years ago for anybody who comes into adult mental health services, we have what we call a child in need risk screen.
Yeah.
So and so you have to ask the parent, and it's part of the assessment. So
yeah.
you know, do you have a children? Are you in contact with them? What's their children's
Actually,
names? Their ages?
Since last year, it's obligatory in the Netherlands still. So yeah, it's
because I do
progress.
think it helps to move people's thinking, some practical things that helps to kind of, because wherever somebody goes in the service, it's the same form, it's the same sort of series of questions. So.
Yeah. Okay.
That is really interesting. Because we've recently done the audit of our adult mental health service. The whole trust actually saw CAMS, learning disability, and it wasn't obligatory. It is not as yet mandatory to ask an adult patient if they have children, which is really not of help to the parent or the child or the whole family at all.
Yeah.
So this is what we're trying to change. I was going to ask you, is it mandatory in your country to ask the question?
And one thing I know, she did also a presentation, and she said it was for only recent that mandatory. Yeah.
Yeah. And
but
when they're at risk,
still I think every worker has to talk about it, and not only if you have children, but also about the parental role, about parenting. So that's a different subject. If you think about parenting, it's not only talking about the children, but also what you do as a parent.
Absolutely. And our suggestion was actually with the question to go, yes, the risks, as Chris was saying, but also if there is a multi-agency collaboration and support for the parent, and is it the whole family in mind? Is there anything through the assessment and proposition for management, treatment, intervention that the whole family will be work with the whole family?
Yes.
Those are our suggestions together with
that's right.
with the question.
Not yet. Psychiatric rehabilitation is pretty individual based, and you ask for the needs of the individual, and then you're going to work with the individual. And if you work with children, it's something else. Not as a group, but maybe. Well, it's coming up.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do.
I did some more research also among mental health workers, and they didn't want to work with the whole family. And well, it's an issue because if you're a family therapist, you're very educated. But I'm talking about people with bachelor level or even under bachelor level. They can work with it. It's easy for them. It's just very open, nice questions, and almost everybody can work with it. Also, people that are experts by experience.
Why did experimental group feel less empowerment?
Okay. Yeah, I was waiting for this question. Thank you. We think that the mental health worker was pretty close with the parent, and is making them dependent. And they were working with the program, but they were mental health workers and human beings as well as before. So what people do, if you're close to somebody, I do it also, I give advices about children. I always give advices, and make people, well, I'm trying to do that, but it's easy to make people dependent on your advices. And then we think we should do on follow-up. We think on the long term, they just become more independent. So then it's going to work. So this explanation we also wrote in the article. Thank you for this question.
I just wanted to actually say that I take a parenting class, and there's a lot of parenting programs and stuff that's being taught, but I was just thinking about it, and I'm like, you know what, they don't raise awareness on mental health or mental illness. They talk about typical parental situations and family, and they don't talk about this is what you should do if your child is acting on this type of behavior due to a possible mental illness or anything. So I'm going to take the information you shared back to my teacher so that maybe she could start incorporating that into the parenting.
Important for that is more of this Falco. Also is just open question. What are the symptoms? What does this mean to you? What affects it on parenting?
Yeah.
And that's it. Not really the diagnostic terms. That's not important for people, but just
enough of that being put out there, and that's part of the stigma, you know. And it's like when you're dealing with a child, because my son, he battles from mental illness too, because his dad and so on and so forth. But it's different raising a child with mental illness, or like you said, as being a parent with mental illness and raising your children too. I mean, it's just a whole different situation, and it's not cut out in black and white. Like, and every situation is different.
It's good to get support on the
diagnosis.
good place, I guess. Yes. Yeah, that's in an early stage. Yeah.
Time for another question.
Thank you for your attention.